We are live. Hey, everybody, we're live with I can actually say longtime friend. We known each other a while now, man.
Yeah,
Um,
we really have.
yeah, I mean, wow. Anthony Carillo, the man that was known once as the Carillo Cannon, and now he is Coach Carillo as well. And who else? Does anyone call you Cannon anymore, Anthony?
No, you know what? It's just AC because it's AC the OC because I'm an offensive
Oh,
coordinator.
that's
So
cool.
everybody they shortened it down to AC. My nicknames are getting smaller by the years.
AC the OC. I met AC the OC through our mutual friend Bill Chakas, and we remained in touch. And we covered the NFL draft. I haven't been to any of your games yet, which is a mistake on my part. But tell us, as offensive coordinator, uh, who you model your game after, or do you have a different, unique approach, or both?
You know what? It's to be honest, it's I when I was offered the offensive coordinator position a few years ago, I had a marble notebook like the water boy coach, and I wanted to make it an offense that I, as a former quarterback, wanted to run. So I watched a ton of Oregon, Oklahoma State, different up tempo offenses, and then when I pitched it to the players, I told them, and the moniker for my offense was, "You have to embrace the crazy," because we were a no huddle offense. We were getting snaps off every 13 seconds and everything else, and we never did anything that I wasn't trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm Bill Walsh trying to recreate the West Coast offense, but we ran plays that were set that the defense was always wrong because somebody has to be wrong. And there were games where I would be calling plays and we'd be running right off tackle zone to the right. And if it worked the first play, I would run it again, and then I would run it again, and I just keep running it. And we did everything no huddle, so nobody had a chance to breathe. And I always told my players, you have to embrace the crazy because we could have a game plan A, B, C, but once we start with A, we could jump to F. And then if you freak out because now we're on F and missed steps, then it's not going to work. Just embrace it together, and we'll just pummel teams. And we were pummeling teams at one point. We lead a team, I think, 62-0,
Pooh.
58 something. Yeah, and then I kind of got reprimanded a little bit by the teams we played because we were running up scores to that type of magnitude. And me being me, because the type of personality I have, instead of me sitting back and kind of apologizing for it, I stood there and I said, "It's your job to stop me. I'm not going to stop playing football. I'm not going to stop coaching football because you stink.
Good for you.
That's not my problem."
I'm curious to ask you in that context, however, was the main advantage the fact that you were on this 13-second pace? And the reason I ask is because Sonny Dykes, who coached at Cal, and then prior to that coached at Louisiana Tech, used something called the Tony Franklin method of spread, up tempo. And someone asked him why, actually, I think it was me. No, it wasn't me. It was somebody else, about why he wouldn't do shifting before the snap, right? And his response was that we feel that the up tempo actually causes teams to react to what we do rather than us just shifting using a pre-shift. Because I was always obsessed with the idea of using both at once, right? But
Mhm.
I mean, is that the case? Was that your motivation for that kind of super up tempo?
Yeah, you know what? That's like we didn't run a lot of motion because we ran the jet sweeps, the fly sweeps here or there, and we did certain things like misdirection based off those motions. But the point that I tried to make, almost subliminally against every team we played, was that we're lining up this way. We're going 1,000 miles an hour. Stop it. And if you stop it, great. I'll figure out something else to do. But the fact is that since we were going so fast, the defense has no time to disguise anything because they just have to get set and get set immediately. And since it's a semi-professional football setting, these guys are talented athletes across the league that we played in. But still, it came to the point where we came in with this bravado saying, we're going to do what we want to do, and you have to stop us. And at the end of the day, there's some games where, like I said, we run the same play. I think we were playing this team in Brooklyn who is a great team. They're in the championship this year for the league, the Brooklyn Seminoles. And when we played them in the playoffs, we were heavy underdogs. And we wound up tying up the game and winning the game in overtime. And we ran a halfback angle pass out of the backfield. Out of the 70 plays we ran that game, we must have run it 20 times. And I just kept saying, that nobody knows what to do. Just keep running it. Just run it. Like, just run the play. Like, they have no idea. And the premise of it was that the more time I gave the defense to adjust pre-snap, the less effective we would be. So if we just lined up where we were, and we had a code setting so that it was, if we were in like twins right, we would stay in twins right. We wouldn't shift formation psychotically, because every play you could run out of every formation. So we would come out the first play in a certain formation, and that's the formation we would use to go down the field, so that when the play was over, you're not scattering to get back. You're near your location of where you need to be, and you just keep running the ball, and you just keep going.
Hey, was the a halfback angle, was that, it wasn't a halfback pass, it was halfback. It sounds almost like a Texas concept. Was that, or? I mean,
it's exactly that Texas route out of the backfield. And we ran it to perfection. My running back that I used, his name's Cody Lamore. He's playing professionally in Brazil now, because Brazil's got a football league, and I think he won the MVP or something. He's doing great. But players like that, like I told everybody on the offense, there's no Jerry Rice here. Nobody's Walter Payton. You all work together. And actually, the first season I implemented this, we set the record for rushing yards in a season with over 2,000 in a 10-game regular season.
Wow.
We had the number 1 rusher, the number 4 rusher. We had 3 receivers in the top 10. The quarterback was in top 5 for passing. We averaged, I think it was 33 points a game. And the defense loved it because we were scoring at such a psychotic rate that teams were immediately playing catch up, because we always took the ball, scored, and now the other team's playing catch up, so the defense was able to pin their ears back and get the job done. And we wound up climbing the ranks pretty high. We wound up finishing ranked first in the state of New Jersey, and we wound up finishing the highest we got was 7th or 8th nationally. And it was fun. It's still fun. It's the guys that I've coached, the players. I'm forever grateful for them believing in the psychoticness that I am, and literally to this day, I'll still get messages from the players and stuff, and they'll ask me about routes or concepts or breaking down film for them, because I never sugarcoated anything, because I hated when people sugarcoated things for me. So I coached the players that the way I wanted to be coached. Like last season, I had as a quarterback Nealon Green, who played in Canada, and he was a 4-year starter at Clemson, one of the first, or if not the first, black quarterback to start at Clemson University. The guy's almost twice my age. Just calling him Grandpa. So I can't pretend I'm the elder there. So I found the common ground with him, and we had a lot of fun, because I never treated anybody like they were beneath me or anything. I treated them as equals, because at the end of the day, you're playing a professional sport, and you're supposed to know what to do. And I only yelled when we would jump off sides or have a false start, and if the receivers dropped passes, they would come off the field. They'd do 10 push-ups on the sidelines, and I'd send them back in, and that's it.
Hey, so on that vein, I think the New York Jets could use your offense. You ever thought of just, hey, applying for a job with the Jets?
Yeah, you know what? I have some friends associated with the organization. I've kind of been poking and saying, like, hey, I got an offense. Maybe this can help. Because you know what? It's Adam Gase came in, and he's supposed to be this quarterback whisperer. And you know what? Everybody's saying this season's a failure because of how we've started off so far. But nobody thought Sam Darnold was coming to New York to kiss a pretty girl, and then all of a sudden he's got mono. And then he's got his toenail ripped off and all these things.
Well, did he get it from kissing a girl? Is that what happened?
I don't know. Mono is known as the kissing disease, so I'm just wildly speculating.
I didn't know that. You learn something new every day on this show all the time, folks. There you go.
There it is. So
there it is.
So yeah, like it's not a big enough sample size to make Adam Gase the savior or also the pariah. It's what I equate it to so far is getting Le'Veon Bell's fantastic, getting Jamison Crowder's fantastic, but there's still so many glaring holes on that offense. It's kind of like Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell's a fantastic athlete. I never debate that ever. He's one of the best running backs in football. And he came in with the right attitude. Like, you can see how, like, it was one of those goosebump books. You pick your poison, either Antonio Brown or Le'Veon Bell from the Steelers. I'm happy that we took Le'Veon Bell because he's staying the straight and narrow, I guess, and Antonio Brown's got his own problems. But
what do you think they are, Antonio Brown's problems?
You know what? I don't know. It's to be honest. I think there's some people. To be honest, I think money started leaking in and corrupting certain people in his circle. So what's going on now and the investigations and things happening. But I also think that he got really big really quick, and it was never. Like, he came out, I think it was a 5th-round pick out of Central Michigan. Mm-hmm. Nobody really knew who Antonio Brown was. And it's funny because as the Jets, the fun fact is that the Jets traded their 5th-round pick for Santonio Holmes to the Steelers, and with that 5th-round pick, the Steelers took Antonio Brown. So that's fun, but I think he went on this meteoric rise, and unfortunately, there was nobody to kind of like tether him back to the ground.
Do you think? That him getting hit by Vontaze Burfict might have done something or had contributed to that? Because it seems like all of his, I hate to use the term antics, but I would just say acting up, started after that hit, maybe just 5 or 6 months after that hit, and it just got worse.
Oh, absolutely. There is. Unfortunately, there is, the best way I could put it is like Antonio Brown probably has, or most definitely has, some form of, and I know this isn't the best way to put this, is the only way I can think of it, is he has some form of brain damage or CTE or something going on in his head, because he took that shot in the playoffs in Cincinnati, and from that moment on, he was never the same. Like, you saw the video of the locker room discussion or something stupid that got leaked, fine. Mm-hmm. But you can see his attitude change, and then all of a sudden the haircuts, and then he dyed his mustache like Hulk Hogan, and then all these things started happening. And then he took a few more shots to the head, and it's the way the NFL goes now, and it's one of these things. It's like, it's right in front of your face that you just saw somebody. You see a receiver, one of the best receivers in football. He's on the short list of one of the best, if not on his way to Canton before all of these things started to come up and everything. I don't know how the voters are going to react to it. But, yeah, you see it. You see, like, and then people are downplaying concussions and things like that, but, like, he's the prime case of, look what happened to him. Like, he was part of one of the best, the most respected front offices in football with the Rooney family in Pittsburgh. And then he takes that shot from Vontaze Burfict, and now look where he is in that timeline. So you're right. Like, yeah, there's some form of something in his brain that something, unfortunately, is probably misfiring, which is causing problems. But it's the way the game is played now, and people like Vontaze Burfict, who's been suspended all season, I said it to somebody the other day. I said Vontaze Burfict belongs in the 70s, and he belongs next to Jack Ham and Tatum, and he belongs there. He's an old-school player in the wrong era. Like, if he played even in the 80s, nobody would say anything to him, and he would be lumped in with the Romanowskis of the world. But him spearing Jack Doyle, the tight end for the Colts, while the guy's getting up, like, there's no way around that. Like, it's...
But even then, funny you said that, because I was at the game where Darryl Stingley was hit by Jack Tatum. I was at that preseason game. And I have seen a lot of 70s football. And one of my mom's best friends was Otis Sistrunk, the man they would say was from University of Mars, but I digress. I never saw anyone get hit while they were standing still, right? It was always in the action when the guy had the ball. and you knew Tatum was going to crack him, or Dr. Death Skip Thomas was going to crack him.
Mhm.
And they were hard hitters. I mean, no question about it. They were absolutely hard hitters. And Phil Villapiano used to wear this cast, but he hadn't broken his arm.
Yeah, he used to.
Right?
I saw the interviews. He used to try to can opener people. I'm like,
Yeah.
and the guy, unfortunately, the William Hayes who just passed away. Like it's the days of those guys and Lyle Alzados of the world, and when the Raiders were the Raiders, and you went into the black hole, you didn't know if you were coming out alive.
Right.
It was one of these things. Yeah, and like I love Jack Tatum. I love George Atkinson. I just loved how they played the game because I'm born in '89, so all mine is just watched on NFL Films
Yeah,
or whatever
and
tape I can find. But
George
yeah,
is a personal
like,
friend of mine, So yeah, I mean, definitely.
yeah, so it's really it's sad to see a player such as Antonio Brown, because you can't debate the statistics he's put up, that if he kept the pace or even regressed 5 or 10% as he's getting older, he's on his way to a gold jacket in Canton.
Mm-hmm.
But due to the excessive smacks to his head, because he's not a big guy. He's 5'9" maybe on a good day, or 5'10", and he's running across the middle. He's a fearless guy. Those shots take a toll, and you can see that. You can even see it with the bigger receivers like A.J. Green in Cincinnati. He's 31. He's banged up, and it's a testament to guys taking too many shots. And then I also do believe that in training camp and stuff, the way that they've cut down on the amount of thudding and hitting you can do in practice, you're going from like 10% of hitting and thudding in practice, and all of a sudden you're in an NFL football game running full speed. I think that there has to be like a checks and balances of it almost, like maybe hit a little bit more in the beginning, because you can see that the rise of injuries is happening to an extent, that guys are out for longer, this or that and this. Because in the beginning, it's like getting in a Ferrari and just going from 0 to 3 million before you get out of the driveway. It's like there has to be an easier transition into it, which starts in the off season, the preseason, but you'll see more of, unfortunately, the players, the good skill position players. Like, I fear for Christian McCaffrey and the Zeke Elliott's and the Saquon Barkley's, even Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs, rookie running back for the Raiders, is a fantastic running back. But all I do when I see him going flying through tackles, hitting people twice his size, is going, he's going to have a short shelf life, because he's taking a beating every game and he's still producing. But it's one of these things you kind of like, I feel bad for the guy because he's getting thudded around like real bad.
Yeah,
So,
why would the Raiders do that? I mean, I ask Coach Gruden when I see him, seriously, but you're right about that. I always thought of Josh Jacobs as an off-tackle sweep kind of guy, or end around kind of guy, but not a line buck guy,
Yeah, that's when I was looking at him in Alabama, he was fantastic, and I watched a bunch of his tape just to kind of see, because the Jets needed a running back, and I flat out started scouting him. I didn't know the Raiders were going to take him in the first round, so I kind of saw him as an early day 2, late day 1 guy. So, but he's a guy that you get on the edge. It's like he has that lateral quickness and agility to get to the edge, and then let him run through a safety 5 yards downfield. But in John Gruden's offense, in that type of offense, there's a need for that downhill between the tackles runner. And Josh Jacobs does fit that mold technically, because he's shown that he can do it so far this season. It's just unfortunate because he doesn't have the body that can sustain this long career like the John Gruden teams of old.
Mm-hmm.
When he was on a team and he had a running back that was 6 foot, 240, and could go between the tackles and just pound people.
Yeah, that was with the Bucks. Who was that? That was
that
the fullback.
Allstott?
Yes.
Yeah, Mike
Allstott.
Like Mike Allstott, he's powering it through.
The A train. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because Josh Jacobs he's a great player, and I think they got a great steal at the end of the first by grabbing him, and it's not. I feel bad because you're right. He's more of an outside the tackle, get him on the edge, let him make a quick move and go flying up the field. But they're using him as an in between the tackles guys, and the Raiders are winning football games, so it's not like he's wrong. It's just I'm thinking about the longevity of the young man's career.
Yeah, well, the Raiders are 3-3, just to put a fine point on it. But hey, on that note, assess Adam Gase for me.
Okay. That's a loaded question in itself.
Thank you.
No, Adam Gase, I think that my blatant opinion is that the Sean McVay Kool-Aid runs real deep. And everybody saw Sean McVay come from, was it Central Michigan or whatever it was, where he came from, and he started head coaching in the NFL, and he took the Rams on this, once again, meteoric rise to the Super Bowl and then floundered. I think you saw everybody go like, oh, we need a young, upbeat coach. And then the Bengals went and got one guy, and then the Cliff King Cardinals fired their head coach after one season, traded their top 10 pick.
I felt sorry for Steve.
Kingsbury from Texas Tech. Cliff Kingsbury, he had a sub 500 record at Texas Tech, and now he's coaching the Cardinals, and he's doing fine. I'm just like, okay. And then the Jets grabbed Adam Gase, which was perplexing to me because the Jets played against him twice a year when he was coaching, and you saw what he did in Miami.
Yeah.
And granted, the front office and things are different like that, but you knew what you got when you signed him, and he had a first-round pick in Ryan Tannehill. Mm-hmm. He had a first-round receiver in Devontae Parker, and you saw how they floundered, for a better lack of a term for a Dolphin. He floundered it in Miami. So you bring him to New York, which is even a heavier media capital, and now you give him Le'Veon Bell, but you give him a shoddy offensive line, and you give him Sam Darnold, who Sam Darnold's I still believe is going to be a good quarterback, but then on the outside you have not the best receivers to figure things out with, and now he's trying to make chicken parm out of the dead squirrel on the road, and it's I feel bad because it's like I said, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound, and it's like, okay, like, and now Kelechi Osemele is having his own problems
former Raider
with the front office.
Yeah,
the old
that's
Raider.
an ugly situation. My God, it sounds like it's. Tell my viewers what's happening.
Pay out of his own pocket to get his own shoulder surgery at this point.
Yeah, tell my viewers what's happening, because you're there. What's going on?
Yeah, it's unfortunate because there were such high hopes, but as every Jet fan will attest, in the comments or on the page or whatever it is, we die for hope. It's like we're in an abused relationship, and they'll tell you they'll love us forever, and then 3 minutes later we have a black eye, and it's unfortunate. And like we have the promise of tomorrow. We're just going through the hell of today. Like we got Quentin Williams in the draft, C.J. Mosley, Tremaine Johnson's just stealing money from the Jets because he's not good. And then you have players like Jamal Adams, who is one of the top rising stars in the NFL, and you can see in his face he wants to win football games, but he doesn't know how to do it. And I think that we'll see as the season goes on. You'll see a clash between Greg Williams and Adam Gase. It'll almost be like the Mike Ditka, Buddy Ryan feuds of the '80s because
oh my God.
I don't think Greg Williams is going to punch him like Buddy Ryan did, but you'll see because Greg Williams, if it was up to me and I was Chris Johnson and I had all this money in the world, I would have probably made Greg Williams the head coach and made Adam Gase the offensive coordinator because if Adam Gase could just focus on the offense, then he'd be fantastic. And Greg Williams is that no-nonsense approach type of guy, which I think that we need because we've had so many different coaches and so many different points of views through the years, from Mangini to Edwards to the whole line of them, and everybody came in with a different mentality. We need that no-nonsense. We're going to go from A to B. Don't think about C until we're at B type of guy, which Greg Williams is. And I think he would have been able to, like the suspensions of Chris Herndon, the tight end who's pretty good. He's coming back from being hurt and suspended. Guys like that, you wouldn't have seen been suspended, because I think Greg Williams would have kept everybody on the straight and narrow, and that's where we need to be in this process of the rebuild. You can't have playoff hopes when you come out to start your first game. You go up 16-0, your middle linebacker gets hurt, and then the team just implodes, and you lose by a point. So I think that the Jets are going through one of the ebbs and flows of rebuild, but now there's reports today that came out shopping Robbie Anderson around, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think that if they get the right value for him, it's a good move, but not to undersell him, because you need the picks. And then what you have to do is go into the offseason and jam it down offensive line help, because the only way Sam Darnold's going to be good is when you have a good offensive line in front of him. Even when Joe Namath was drafted back in 67 or 65, he had a great offensive line, if I'm not mistaken. It was Winston Hill and then country boy Pete Lamons, and he had all these great, decent offensive linemen around him. You just pulled Ryan Carillo out of retirement to go play center. You need a more long-term answer than asking Ryan Carillo to get off his couch and come play football. So that's where I stand on it. But with Adam Gase, I think that he needs to simplify everything. You watch during the game the offensive game plan and the offensive flow of the football team, and there's no set direction of it. I'm not comparing myself to NFL head coaches, but before each game I scripted 10 plays. And then when I scripted them, I talked to my offense. And I said, this is what we're doing. We're going to go left and we're going to go right. And at the end of it all, this is how many yards we're going to go, but this is the direction we want to see, because through each play, it's going to tell us what they're doing. I'm not going to force their hand. I want to see what they do and then adjust accordingly, because now there's no more secrets. When you watch a Jets football game, it looks like he's just calling plays to score touchdowns immediately and just say, whatever, it's first down, we'll score a touchdown now, we'll figure it out. And every play is like a home run play. But in the game of football, from what I've learned playing it as well as coaching, is it's not a sprint, it's more of a ballet. You have to work. It's a fluid thing that you have to go through it, and the defense might give you 3 yards, and if you try to take 4, you're going to go back 10. And it's one of these, it's a very intricate dance that anybody who's listening, if you go on to watch a Jet game, I'm telling you now, every time you sit there and you scratch your head why they're calling certain plays where they are, that's the point I'm trying to make. Because usually you watch the Patriots, you'll see them go off tackle one play, quick pass second down, off tackle the third play, there's first down. It's not. Tom Brady throws the ball 60 yards the first play, then they try some double reverse punt screen the second, and then here comes the annexation of Puerto Rico on the third, and then that was punted. No, that's my point I'm trying to make.
We're on with Anthony Carillo, who should be an offensive coordinator for the Jets. By the way, I got into a celebrated only because I put it up on my blog battle with a person that I think you also may know, Brian Baldinger, who
Yes.
I came to know during the NFL draft. But to cut to the chase, he insisted that Sam Darnold was a better quarterback than Teddy Bridgewater, and I thought he was crazy. And I still think the Jets should have kept Bridgewater. What the heck was going on, man?
You know what? I knew why the Jets brought him in, and I knew it was putting bait on the line to try to get a draft pick from somebody. But Teddy Bridgewater, he didn't do. This is what I tell everybody when they ask me about the Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater did nothing to lose his starting job in Minnesota except having his knee explode in practice.
Right.
That's it. He didn't play terrible. He was one of the rising stars in football before, on some random play, his knee got destroyed. When he came in with us, I thought, great, we have a young quarterback he's a good quarterback on a 1-year, $5 million deal. That's fine. Let him play and see how he reacts back into football. And then before the season started, we shipped him out for a third. And then in my mind, I justified it saying, okay, we got a third for him. Let's see where we go from here. But as now you see in New Orleans, Teddy Bridgewater is a fantastic athlete. He's not fearful of his knee anymore. He knows how to play the game. He got thrown into a pretty crazy situation in New Orleans where Drew Brees is down and the Saints are trying to win it all. So he could not let up, and he hasn't. They're undefeated with Bridgewater at quarterback.
I got to ask you a question that goes along with something we were talking about off camera, well off stream. How much did race play into that? And I asked because I broke this story this week that 2019, this part of 2019, this week 7, was the first time in NFL history that the NFL Players of the Week for all of the 7 weeks were on offense were more black athletes than anything else. In fact, of the 14 offensive positions, because there's, AFC, NFC, and then 7 times 2 is 14, nine times the player of the week was black. Twice it was Deshaun Watson. And when you go through the list of them, like, for example, Jacoby Brissett, no one gave Jacoby a chance when Andrew Luck decided to take his flight of fancy. Kyler Murray, if you go through the group, there's, of course, Jameis Winston, who I think people to this day have a negative feeling about because of that whole deal with Erica Kinsman. But if you actually bother to read the case, the courts exonerated him not once, but twice.
Yeah.
And she had sex with 2 different dudes within 24 hours. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so anyway, I mean, her auntie, who was her lawyer, was saying, my girl's not sleeping with a black guy. I mean, I'm not kidding you, Anthony. It's like, well, Miss Cornwell, it's not just once, but twice within 24 hours.
Yeah, like,
it's hilarious.
Sober up for a second.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then, of course, we have the great play. Winston did really well when he was Player of the Week, when he was named it. And then, of course, the remarkable play of Lamar Jackson, who Bill Polian said should have been drafted as a wide receiver, right?
Yes.
So you put all those nutty occurrences together, and you get history that has been made. I think is a great statement on our society, but was that the case with Bridgewater, or was it that they just wanted Donald to succeed? What was it?
I think that you're right. It's the rise of the African American quarterback in football is a great sight to behold. Just because the NFL has been very stingy for decades with the prototypical quarterback, and then Mike Vick, Randall Cunningham. Doug Williams actually start way back in the day. He was the one who kind of opened the door. Then Cunningham came in and opened it. Mike Vick kicked it down. And now you have the Deshaun Watsons, Jacoby Brissetts, Lamar Jacksons, all these guys of the world showing that they can not only succeed in the NFL, they can be elite talents in the NFL. Like Lamar Jackson's biggest knock was that everybody wanted him to play wide receiver, and then they got pissed he didn't run the 40 at the combine. But the man knew what he could do. Baltimore took a chance on him, and now it's paying off in spades because the man is setting record after record with passing yards and rushing yards in a game. I just hope he stays healthy enough for it to last.
Mm-hmm.
Because the AFC North is a brutal conference to play in, especially with the weather that they get at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
But with the Teddy Bridgewater thing, I felt bad for Bridgewater because he, like I said, he didn't play himself out of losing his starting spot. He got hurt. And when he came to the Jets, I think that when they finally realized, we're going to go through this rebuild now. We got a rookie quarterback. We got a 40-year-old quarterback in Josh McCown, Teddy Bridgewater. We don't want Sam to feel like he's being pressured into competing. But when I thought about that, I also thought back to the Mark Sanchez days of 2009, where he walked into a starting spot. He wasn't pushed to beat anybody out. He was just handed the keys to the team. And I kind of like had a red flag saying we're kind of repeating the same things we did 10 years ago. And
hey, not to mention the Monday Night Football game where the Jets were beaten so badly that it reminded people of the butt fumble.
Yeah, it's I tell you, like those nights like that, like nights like Mondays, when I'm happy I have kids, because then I could focus on the kids and not have my stomach ripped out watching the Jets get pummeled to death.
You're lucky.
And yeah, but with Teddy Bridgewater and stuff, I think even if he doesn't stay in New Orleans, I think he'll get a starting job somewhere, because that job is Drew Brees' job. Drew Brees has earned the right to be the starting quarterback there. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback and everything, and what he's done for the city of New Orleans and everybody there is remarkable and commendable. And Teddy Bridgewater's just making his case stronger that if Phillip Rivers leaves or something happens, Teddy Bridgewater can step into almost any situation in the NFL and can succeed very well and play in a division like the NFC South, which has good defenses and has people flying around the football, and he can stick his nose in with the best of them and win football games, and he'll land on his feet. And you're right about Jacoby Brissett, that the minute that Andrew Luck retired, Vegas plummeted the odds, did all this, and changed the narrative of the Colts. But you watch the game tape of Jacoby Brissett at NC State, he's a good quarterback. Like, he was a good quarterback coming out. He got stuck on third on the depth chart with Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo. Then he went to Indianapolis, and he stayed behind Andrew Luck, and he played when Andrew Luck got hurt. And there was nothing that he showed you when he played for the extended time when Luck was out with the elbow or the shoulder, whatever injury it was, that he was going to tank the Indianapolis Colts. If you thought anything, you could say, yeah, maybe they'd lose an extra game or two, maybe, but the Colts are still going to be competitive. I don't know what anybody's talking about.
Yeah. You know, something else, too. I remember when he took over for Tom Brady for the first 4 games of Brady's suspension. Remember that?
Yeah.
And he did really well.
Yeah.
It was like 3 wins and a loss, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? It's the best way I can put it is that it's like this is honestly the best way I can put it. It's like when you talk to the old guys about baseball and tradition should stay tradition, and it's an unfortunate and almost ignorant way to think about it, because football is no more of Woody Hayes' 3 yards in a cloud of dust. You have to have athletic people, athletic quarterbacks to play the position. Look how some of these older type quarterbacks are getting. You can see a generational shift in it all. And with that generational shift comes with the tolerance, is the best way I can put it, of having an African-American quarterback, because I played football. I played with a lot of different races and creeds of people. I coached football, and I didn't care if you were black, white, or had stripes like a zebra. If you could play football, you're going to be playing. You're going to be on the field, and that's what they're showing. Deshaun Watson's doing it. Brissett's doing it. Kyler Murray's doing it to the nth degree, because he's 3 feet tall and he's winning football games. And Russell Wilson in Seattle's doing it. And yeah, it shows the tide's changing from the 6'4", 240 quarterback.
I will have to say, having interviewed Kyler Murray, having been on the red carpet with Kyler Murray, and I have, if you're here at Zenny62 on YouTube, folks, you can just type his name and you can see that man is small in stature. He really, no joke, you know?
Yeah, you know what? It's a testament to him, because he could have played for the Athletics. He could have went and gone and played baseball, and he chose to go play football, knowing the hurdles he would have to go through. But he also has, Kyler Murray fell into one of the best situations, not on paper, but as a guidance thing, because he has one of the, if not the most stand-up, most professional man in football playing receiver for him in Larry Fitzgerald. That man literally could make any quarterback look good, because that guy, I saw a statistic yesterday, Larry Fitzgerald has 37 tackles for his career. He only has 29 drop passes. The guy's a lunatic, and he's gone through this beating in Arizona of just these terrible football teams, and never once has he opened his mouth or said anything about it. And yeah, like Russell Wilson and this and that, and like I said, like the days of those 6'4", 240 is the requisite to play quarterback in the NFL are gone, because you see.
And Lamar Jackson's what, 6 feet, and that's it, right?
Yeah, like he's 6. He might be 6
Maybe,
feet.
right.
He might be 6'1" with cleats on. Like,
Yeah.
and he's running with the best of them, and you can see how the older type coaches in the NFL can't wrap their heads around it, because they're used to Eli Manning dropping back and staying in the pocket and figuring it out. But now you have Deshaun Watson or Jacoby Brissett or Lamar Jackson drop back, and all of a sudden they're running. You can't game plan for that. You have to teach how to read and react to that. And most defensive players know how to do that. But when your game plan gets thrown out the window, that's all these athletic running quarterbacks are doing, is looking the defensive coordinator in the face and just punching him in the mouth and going, your game plan, here's my punch, figure it out. And then all of a sudden you can't figure it out, and the Ravens are up 20-0. And it's like, oh crap, here we go.
It's funny you said that, because we're on with Anthony Carillo, by the way, and Patrick M. Blackman says, "Hey Anthony, fire Adam Gase." These are some of the comments.
I mean, if I could, I would.
Jason Craig says California burning, which I'm not sure how that's relevant to what we're talking about right now. But moving forward, I interviewed Mike Mayock in 2008, and Mike Mayock, well, maybe I could just find the interview here and I'll play it. But Mike, well, it's kind of hard because you can't see his expression. I'll just say that when I talked to him, he basically came off like he was really upset that I would ask him if the NFL passing game was behind college. And he looked at me like I had like 4 horns on my head, and it was hilarious. But I'm gonna play it for you right now. He just sounded visibly annoyed. I just like your reaction to how he answered this. Here it is. This is from the 2008 NFL Draft.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mike Mayock of NFL Network. Mike, last year the New England Patriots had a very innovative offensive scheme. Some say it wasn't copied. What's your opinion on the scheme and its propagation in the NFL, if any?
The scheme's only as good as the players you have to work that scheme. When you have the combination of wide receivers they had and the quarterback they have, I think in the opinion of Belichick and McDaniel, the best thing to do is put the ball in the hands of your Hall of Fame quarterbacks, spread the field, let him make decisions at the line of scrimmage, and then take advantage of the athletic ability of those guys you have on the edge. Now, the whole NFL is going more spread. More and more teams are going spread, but you still have to have the quarterback that can pull the trigger and make all the right decisions, and you have to have the athletic ability on the edge. And what's happening is defenses are getting smaller and quicker to combat that. But I think the Patriots as an organization went into last year because of Randy Moss and Wes Welker and Tom Brady, and they made a conscientious decision heading into training camp, we're going to be a different kind of football team.
On that note, because I asked Matt Ryan this question, what is your view on the idea that the college passing game is a little different from the NFL passing game versus, for example, 25 and 30 years ago? Why is that? Is it the internet, the ability to go on, say, a message board like I think Hugo's got one, and just be able to share schemes and ideas, or Chris Brown's message boards, or what's the reason for that? Or is that the case? Or is it the NFL?
The reason for what?
The idea that the college passing game is as sophisticated, or in some cases more sophisticated.
No, it's not even close.
Okay.
Not even close.
Why?
There's a finite amount of time college coaches have to work with their players. Compared to the NFL, it's not even 1/3 as much time as an NFL player would put into preparing for a game. So there's a finite amount of time to put a scheme in. So the scheme, by definition, has to be simpler. So a college, all these spread offenses that colleges are running, they're pretty simple. It's like Texas and Oklahoma back in the 70s. It's an option game. You can run the spread for the run game like a West Virginia's done, or you can run the spread like like a Hawaii does.
So I was thinking about from two perspectives. I have the 2005 Notre Dame playbook, which is basically very much like the Patriots playbook. And then, of course, Coach Walsh. So I was thinking from a more perspective of what the NFL coaches have brought into the college game.
There's no question that guys with NFL experience on both sides of the ball, blitz packages on the defensive side and offensive packages on the offensive side, there's no question that the guys that come from the NFL can bring a different scheme and a different package to the college level. However, it still has to be a little bit more vanilla just because the players don't have the time to implement that you do at the next level.
How can people find you online? You have a website, by chance?
All my stuff is on NFL.com.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, so I thought, and what every time I look at the exchange, I come away with different feelings about it. I don't know why. It's almost like maybe it's a Rorschach test for how I'm feeling. But what'd you think about what he said?
My initial reaction is he brought up scheming against defenses, and my response to that is I don't think that Nick Saban's and the Ed Orgerons of the world coach on Saturday nights, and then go flip burgers for the rest of the week. I think they spend the whole week scheming.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, the best thing I can do is I can say that I coach semi-professional football. We practiced one day a week, and I had 150 plays in my playbook, and I spent all week trying to figure out schemes how to do this. And then in a 2-hour practice, we implemented those schemes for game-specific reasons. And it falls on the coaches, but he said everything's going spread and everything else, like the New England Patriots and Tom Brady, and they're changing the way they're doing it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they had Hall of Famer Randy Moss, a great slot receiver in Wes Welker. And to be honest, if I had a Ferrari and a Honda in the driveway, I'm taking the Ferrari. I'm not taking the Honda out. Like, you have this psychotic talent on your thing. And college offenses, some of them are, he's right to the point that sometimes quarterbacks only have a one-read type offensive play where you run the spread, but you're just reading one person.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have Tom Brady or you have Drew Brees or you have these elite Hall of Fame caliber quarterbacks, you can do whatever you want. But when you have the college football, to your point, you're right, because college football has forced the NFL to change. And I don't think that came willingly. I think that came with a lot of roadblocks and red tape that had to go through with it, because forcing people to change their gameplay to better suit what the NFL wants is not how it's going to happen. I think we're going to see an uptrend of a lot more college-type offensive things coming into football, especially the NFL. And what he talked about is scheming and getting the ball in the hands of the playmakers. Every offensive coordinator on the planet, including myself, knows every type of defense that any defense will ever run. Nobody's reinventing the wheel. Nobody's creating the next 46 defense. Nobody, ever. Every defense that pretty much can be made has been made. So you have, if you're a good offensive coordinator, you have plays to beat every defense. So when you go sit down and you do this, your team should know what to do. So even if there's a, quote, finite amount of time in college compared to the NFL, you have, take the top teams, for example. Justin Fields is in the Big Ten right now, transfer from Georgia to Ohio State. Nobody sat there and said, oh, we got a finite amount of time with this kid. I don't know what to do. Let's read the tea leaves, see what happens. They went, you should know what to do. You're a top caliber quarterback at a top program in the country. And Ohio State is embarrassing people at this point.
Yes.
And even Alabama this weekend. Matt Jones is going to make, I think, his first start for Alabama. And I can almost guarantee you Alabama puts up 40. Because even though you don't have set practices to do things, it's not like these players can't talk to each other or scheme things or go to the field and throw footballs around based off the playbooks that they have. Like, the whole scheme thing, you don't need the right players to play a scheme. You need players to buy into your scheme.
That's
like,
what bothered me. You couldn't see, or unless, of course, maybe you look at another screen, Mayock's reactions, but he actually seemed visibly annoyed that I was asking him if the college game was ahead. And this was 2008 when we were talking, but still, he didn't have to act that way. And what I was looking for And what surprised me at the time that he didn't seem to know was that it's not so much the fact that you have time to work on a play, but the play. The play could have, option routes. Um, it could be rather sophisticated. It could be like a Swiss Army knife play for a passing game where you're developing something where you have, middle field open, middle field closed, hot route from the back that leads him to come down or take the flat route. Maybe he stays in the block. That's all in one play. And then maybe you have it where, on top of all that, if the defense is gone, there's no middle linebacker, you have it where the quarterback comes up, pats the center on the butt. Next thing you know, they run up the middle. That's all in one play, right? And Mayock didn't get that. I was thinking, did he just say what I thought he said?
No, it's. I have plays. My offense, the passing game that we had in our offense. For an example, one of the plays that we ran, and we ran it to death. We just ran it into the ground because the defense always had to be wrong. Was we had trips for 3 receivers to the right and 1 to the left, and then we ran something called 2-7 bubble option on the outside, on the back side. So the outside guy was running a slant, the guy in the middle was running a corner route, and then the slot guy closer to the line was running a quick bubble route. So there's your hot route right there. Now the corner has to decide one of 3 things. It's either he runs with the slant, drops back with the corner, or comes up on the bubble. On top of that, now I'm confident enough that my receiver in the middle running that corner can beat whatever linebackers on top of him, or if it's a safety, still going to beat him. And if both of them are on man coverage, then the guy all the way in the slot closest to the line running that bubble can outrun any linebacker that's on him. And then even on the backside, you had the option to run a slant, a fly, a dig, a hitch, whatever you wanted to do. So the whole point of that's the point of a scheme, is that I could run that play against cover 2, cover 3, man, robber, 55, whatever you want to do. And somewhere we're going to be right.
Yeah.
It just depends on which one is right. And so when he talks about the schemes of all these things and all this stuff, I don't agree with it, because plays like that, I have a whole playbook that not one pass plays the same, but they're all. I always told my quarterback to find the idiot, and the idiot was the guy on defense that we're going to put on an island. Either way, he's wrong, and we're going to make him feel so bad his mother's going to cry. That's what I used to tell my quarterback. And that's what we did. We figured it out, even with that concept.
Well, Anthony, though, in this day and age, the mother may not cry and may come looking for you with,
I'm the guy on the sideline with the big red hat and the smile because we just got a first down. But that's what the scheme was that, and I had the greatest receivers playing for my Sussex Stags here in New Jersey, and we were great. I had great, no-nonsense, great character-type guys that knew that every play you had to do your job so that even if you didn't get the ball, you're blocking for the guy in front next to you. And then when you get the ball, he'll return the favor. And I always made the joke saying I could probably alternate the offensive line with my receivers, and we would still be competitive, for the sheer fact that either way the defense is wrong. All you got to do is make the throw. And that's it. And that's why when he talks about schemes to beat all these things, and like this is my whole reinventing the wheel philosophy that coaches do. And it's hilarious to me that he talks about schemes and all these things. And then in his first draft as the Raiders GM, out of like the 9 picks he had, he took 8 of them from the college football national championship game where Clemson runs the spread and so does Alabama. And all he did was take Alabama and Clemson people, except the kid from Mississippi State who got hurt, Jonathan Abram. But, yeah, no, your scheme shouldn't matter if you have players that buy into your team and your philosophy.
Yeah, it was very interesting. So I know I promised I wouldn't keep you for more than just a little over an hour, and I'm going to close out because I appreciate the time. I knew your beautiful wife and family are waiting for you, and I'm jealous you have 3 kids. Congratulations.
You can have them if you want them. 'Cause I got Noah who's 6, who knows everything. My daughter Lucy knows that I'm wrapped around her finger, so her and her mother go at it, and then she comes to me and I melt. And then my youngest Roman is just a monster because he knows he can be, and he's just about to be 2, so now he's learned no and mine, and he knows how to fake cry. And every day it's a whole. That's why I love coaching, because the players can give me all this lip, and I always tell them, like, I got 3 kids under 7 at home. Like, you can do nothing to me that's gonna piss me off, because I've learned my zen coming home from work and having the kids pretty much tackle you. So.
I hope before I'm 57 now, but Dennis Quaid gives me hope.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's fun. My sisters all have kids now and all these things, and my sisters all have 1 kid and things like that, or 2, and I'm like, and they're like, oh, it's so tough. Like my sister Angela, just a quick, she has my niece, her daughter Vera. Vera's great. I love her. She's an Eagles fan, but I'm trying to change that. But she used to call Laura, my wife, and say, oh, I'm so tired from her. I'm so tired. I've been so tired. And I'm like, wait till there's 3, and then you talk to me, because 1 kid is fine. You could just, here's a cookie and the TV. Godspeed to you. With 3 of them, you gotta. It's a juggling act, but it's one of these things that even on the worst days with the kids, some days you come home from the worst day at work and they're all waiting for you because they don't know any better of what a bad day and a good day is, and they make the bad days worth it. But when they want to be bad, it's like, why did I have you? Like, oh my God. And it's fun. I tell my wife all the time, we're just making memories, and sooner or later they'll be too big and they'll hate our guts because they'll think their parents don't know anything.
Now are you taking videos of them just to embarrass them later in life?
Oh my God, yeah. I have a cavalry of videos. Like Lucy, my daughter, she can't say S's, so I don't know if I could say it on this, but she tries to say horse. But if you leave out the S, it's a really bad word. And she ran around one day, and I have this video, and I'm going to show it to her boyfriend whenever she gets one. Hopefully never, because I tell her, you're in love with Jesus, and that's it. I'm like, have fun. But she ran around screaming it, and then she ran upstairs to her mother and screamed it at her. And all you heard was my wife go, okay, Lucy. And she was so excited about it. And I got videos of them just being super embarrassed. And my wife's family has cameras, and they're always up, and they're great grandparents and a great support system we have, and my family as well. And they have videos on top of videos. And I say, like, we're gonna use this for ammo. So when they think they don't know anything and they think they're hot stuff, because I said I was the starting quarterback. I got a scholarship to football. I did all these things. So when my sons or my daughter started to get this big head, I'm going to go, sit down, because you're going to watch this, and I'm going to deflate this ego real quick.
Well, that'll be in. Hey, hello? Is anybody there?
Hello?
I'm here. No, I'm not you. It's just that I'm upstairs.
Oh.
It's sometimes if you hear these weird, I shouldn't hear any. I hear this like tick, thinking, what is that?
I was going to say, I pray for you if you're going to hear.
Home Alone 4.
Home Alone 4, the Zenny Abraham story.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, where Zenny makes a video of some poor. Well, the police come here in like 1.4 minutes. I mean, they're fine, but whatever. Or hey, maybe it's my luck. Maybe it'll be my next wife.
Yeah,
I haven't had my first wife.
There's always hope. I moved back from Florida. I met Laura. We sat at a diner for 4 hours, and the rest was history. And that was it. I just moved back from living in Florida for a while just to get out, and met Laura. And we would have dates because I was a manager at ShopRite in the receiving department. And her mother and her would always come every Friday to go food shopping at like 8 a.m. And every Friday for the first month or so, we would have these dates where I would leave the back room and I would walk around with her and her mother shopping. And it was just one of those things that we laugh about it now. And it's sooner or later, when you least expect it, it happens, because I never thought in a million years it would play out the way it did. And I stand here now, 30, fat, balding, and I love every minute of it. That's it.
We're going to have you on again. Hey, don't go anywhere. Hey, folks, I may be on later to talk Raiders. We'll see. But thank you for tuning in. And Anthony, thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
And don't go anywhere.
Anytime. I'm always here.
Don't go anywhere. Hold on a second. All right. Go.
Okay.